This is an ending spoiler for the movie Looper. In a futuristic gangland in the year 2044, a 25-year-old assassin named Joseph Simmons works for a mafia company in Kansas City as a looper. Loopers kill and dispose of agents sent by their employers from corporate headquarters in Shanghai from the year 2074. Loopers are foot soldiers, paid with silver on the condition that all targets must never escape. When crime bosses want to end a looper's contract, they send the older version of a looper back to be killed and pay with gold, referred to as closing the loop. Joe's boss is Abe, who was sent back in time to manage the loopers, and also owns a club Joe frequents, where Joe spends time with a showgirl named Suzie. One night, Seth, Joe's friend and fellow looper, visits him in a panic, telling him he was supposed to close his own loop, but he couldn't do it when he recognized his own voice. Joe hides Seth in his safe while visiting Abe, who explains Joe can either give up half of the silver he has saved as a looper, or give up Seth. Joe eventually tells Abe where he hid Seth, and is racked with guilt over betraying his friend. Seth is then tortured in order to lure his future self to the gangsters, who then kill both of them. Soon after, Joe is sent to close the loop, but he hesitates when he recognizes himself. Old Joe manages to escape after knocking young Joe unconscious. Young Joe then cuts a hidden message into his arm to get Old Joe to visit him at a diner. As they have breakfast, Old Joe explains that he met a woman in Shanghai who became his wife. However, when the Rainmaker, the mastermind behind the time travel assassinations, sent his men to send Joe back, they killed his wife. Joe killed his captors and sent himself back in order to kill the boy who became the Rainmaker. Young Joe still plans to kill Old Joe. However, both of them are forced to flee when they're attacked by Abe's men, led by Kid Blue. But not before Young Joe tears apart a map out of Old Joe's pocket with coordinates and 10 supposedly random digits. Young Joe follows the coordinates to a farmhouse owned by Sarah, who lives with her son Sid. When Joe shows Sarah the map, Sarah recognizes the 10 digits as Sid's birthday and the zip code of the hospital he was born in, prompting Joe to explain the situation about the Rainmaker. However, as the database comes up with 2 children who were born on that date in that hospital, Old Joe decides to systematically assassinate all 3 children. After killing the first boy he has coordinates for, he changes his mind about the second when he sees the girl as Susie's daughter. As young Joe and Sarah become closer, he learns she's a telekinetic, which makes up 10% of the population, and that Sid was raised by her sister for most of his life until she was killed. Thus, Sid does not believe that Sarah is really his mother. One morning, they're attacked by one of Abe's men, Jesse, but Sid falls down the stairs and in his rage lets out a telekinetic blast that kills Jesse. His extraordinary telekinetic powers, which in most telekinetics can barely levitate more than a coin, cause Joe to realize that Sid is the Rainmaker, the evil guy from the future. At that moment, Old Joe makes a second attempt to kill Susie's daughter, but sees through young Joe, who the right boy is before being taken by Kid Blue, who is traced into Susie's place. Young Joe tells Sarah and Sid to drive away while Old Joe is taken to Abe. Old Joe breaks free and kills Abe, and all his men except Kid Blue. The 2 Joes confront each other near Sarah's house before being attacked by Kid Blue, whom young Joe kills. Old Joe then blocks Sarah and Sid from driving away. As they try to escape into the cornfields, Old Joe shoots Sid without killing him, prompting Sid to let out another telekinetic blast. Before Sid can kill Old Joe, Sarah calms him down and gets him to accept her as his mother. Old Joe gets up and tries to kill Sid again, but Sarah stands between them. As young Joe witnesses this, he has a vision that Sarah's death will lead to Sid becoming the Rainmaker, thus creating a closed time loop. He decides to kill himself to erase Old Joe from existence and save Sarah. In the aftermath, Sarah finds the old van that drove filled with young Joe's silver. When the film ends, Sarah is seen tucking Sid into bed. That's the ending. Thanks for watching this video.